All right, so there's a new bill making its way through New York State, and it's aiming to give those who have finished serving their time a clean slate. The act would automatically clear a New Yorker's criminal record once they've become eligible, making it easier for those convicted of a crime to move forward with their lives. Joining us now is Democratic New York State Senator Zellnor Myrie. Senator, thank you so much for being here. I want to start with what made you want to sponsor the Clean Slate Act.
Good to be with you. And let me just say that there are 2.3 million New Yorkers that have conviction records. Many of those individuals live in my district. And when we talk about public safety and what's important for our economic recovery, being able to move on from your conviction after serving time and remaining offense-free is not just the morally right thing to do, but it makes the most economic sense. And that's why I thought it was important to introduce this bill and to really allow for everyone to be a part of our recovery.
Can we talk about what sort of crime records would be cleared, or what sort of crimes would no longer show here? Are we talking violent crimes like murder and sexual offenses, or are there certain crimes?
So most misdemeanors and most felonies would be covered under this process. Note that it is a two-step process. First, you would be the recipient of automatic sealing after 1 or 3 years, depending on whether it was a misdemeanor or a felony. And then after 5 or 7 years, you could be automatically expunged of those convictions. There are particular carve-outs for particular crimes, but most notably, if you have to register on the sex offender registry, you could not benefit from this. If you have committed a crime that has a lifetime parole sentence, you would not be able to participate in this program. And if you try to apply for certain jobs that requires fingerprinting, or if you wanted to be a police officer, you would you wouldn't be able to take advantage of this program. So we acknowledge that there are certain categories that have some more sensitivity, but we believe that the overwhelming majority of individuals who have been sentenced, convicted, who have served their time, should be able to move on with their lives.
You know, with that, there is no question that this bill has faced some decent amount of criticism, for some being concerned that it's potentially dangerous to not know if there's a violent offender out there who could be, working in the same space as you. What is your response to that kind of criticism?
I'd say that this bill is a public safety bill. I have worked very closely with the leaders in my community to fight crime and violence in our neighborhoods. And when I talk to individuals on the street who were formerly or currently involved in that type of activity, they tell me, Senator, what would be most helpful for me is a job. What would be most helpful for me is access to housing. I would love to go back to school, but all of those things are prevented because their convictions prevent them from doing so. And so I believe that this isn't just a morally right bill or economically sound bill, but this is a public safety bill as well.
Is there any data supporting some of that belief, behind this bill, right? Because we know the recidivism rate in this country is relatively high, but on the other hand, we do know that those who work after, coming home from serving their time have a lower recidivism rate. Do you have any stronger data that you're supporting with a bill like this that is controversial?
One of the biggest jurisdictions to institute a regime similar to this has been Michigan. And there was just a study by 2 law professors published in a Harvard journal that looked at the recidivism rates of individuals who had their records set aside or sealed or expunged. And they found that their recidivism rates were actually lower than the general population. They also earned more over their careers than individuals who had not benefited from that program. So this isn't just anecdotes or based in emotion. Studies show that if we give people a second chance, and remember, this has to be subsequent to them being crime-free after their sentence. If we give them a second chance, they're going to do the right thing.
We know a major company like JP Morgan Chase, for example, is showing support, for this bill. Do you think that larger companies are becoming more open to the idea of something like this, or hiring people with a criminal record?
It is an interesting conversation to have with small and large businesses, because we're at a time now where we are looking for folks to enter the workforce. We are trying to recover from one of the worst pandemics we have ever experienced, and we need as many people engaged in our economy as possible. And I think that's why you're seeing financial institutions like JP Morgan Chase or folks in the labor movement support this bill because they want workers to be engaged and want them to be able to move on even if they've had a conviction.
Last question I have for you, because I'm running up against the time. What's a timeline for this bill to potentially become a reality in the state?
Well, we have 2 weeks left in the legislative session, and so the time is short, but we passed this bill out of the Codes Committee in the state Senate, and so that is the first step for it to get to the floor for a vote. I'm hopeful that we can get it there, and we continue to have discussions with all stakeholders involved so that we can get the best bill that's the one enacted into law.
Perfect. Well, we will keep our eye out on what happens with this bill and the potential impact that it could have if it does in fact pass. Thank you so much, New York State Senator Zellnor Myrie.